Okay, I was working on this week's lesson, and in this week, I want you to make a. I want you to think of Illustrator as not everything is 8.5 by 11. So there's a lot of things you can make in Illustrator for a lot of different kinds of products. Today, we're just gonna work with the film sort of size, and I'm gonna talk about making a movie title inside of Illustrator. But let's look at some of the reading first. In this week, I did make a PDF presentation of presentation design, and was making this for another class, and I figured it'd be good for this class also. It's just basic design principles, but this reading is 20 pages long. Talks about presentation design, and if you think about it, almost anything that we do, website or movie or anything like that is all about presentation and presenting information. And so this handout is about presenting information and design and how to design presentations. So it's a good little reading. So read through this, and then think of the concepts. And then for assignment for this week, we're going to learn to do things at different sizes inside of Illustrator. So let's look at Illustrator for a moment. Let me start with a new file here. As we're working inside of Illustrator, mostly what we do is we just, we don't even go down here to the options, and we just go click and start drawing things. But today I want you to look at under the new document window, all the different features. There's multiple artboards, which we'll learn a lot more about in the second class. This first class that I don't do multiple artboards until the advanced Illustrator class, where we make actually multiple page things. But for right now, you could have multiple artboard. We'd think of each artboard as almost a different page. But what I really wanted you to look at, as far as under the new document window for this week, is actually under the new profile, the new document profile. Under new document profile window here, you'll see, of course, we've been doing print. Most of the stuff that we do in print is 8.5 by 11. I know it doesn't say inches right here, but you can convert it over here to inches, and then you could see it, 8.5 by 11. Okay, and then there's other sides of print. There's legal, which is 8.5 by 14, and then there's tabloid, which is 11 by 17, and things like that. So you don't stuck with the standard 8.5 by 11 all the time. But the ones I really want you to look at today would be not necessarily those, but the ones for web. When we choose the web option inside of Illustrator, you'll notice that it gives you pixels, and the reason why is mostly what you're talking about is screen resolution. This is a standard 13-inch monitor, which is a pretty small monitor, like a 15-inch monitor or a 17-inch monitor. That's sort of where these come from. So most people, when they design things inside of Illustrator for a web page, would consider what size the web page would be, and that's why they have these generic sizes here. In addition, you would be designing everything in RGB and not in the CMYK print color mode. And next couple weeks, we're going to start talking about printing and printing things out. So we'll talk a little bit more about the RGB. But if I'm doing things for screen or film and things like that inside of Illustrator, it's usually in the red, green, and blue RGB format. And if I was going to print it out on a color printer, I might use the CMYK mode. So that's sort of why under the new profile, when you choose web, it chooses that. Again, for mobile devices, these are just common screen sizes of wireless devices and wireless phones, and that's sort of why they have those in there. And then we have film and video. Under film and video, there's a common ways of doing things. One of the things I believe that is different between what you do here inside of Illustrator and what we do in Photoshop is when you're using the film and video option inside Photoshop, it uses these non-square pixels. And in here, if I choose to in NTSC widescreen right here, it's going to give me a large screen size. If I choose this option inside of Photoshop, it would be a little bit different size, just because Photoshop can deal with non-square pixels, where here in Illustrator, I know we're not really working with pixels or raster images, but it has to make everything square for some reason. So let's look at the common film sizes. This is the old the first option under the film option is the NTSC DV, which is the old kind of standard television you had back in the early 2000s and the 90s. Kind of in a 4:3 aspect ratio, not a widescreen, but an old screen. Then, of course, we came out with widescreen ones, and as you can see there, that would be a standard, not high definition, but standard widescreen TV would be what you would choose for this one. And then these D ones is a certain Sony format. The PAL ones are for Europe. Then we have a couple different high definition options. This is the low quality high definition. This first one here, the 1280 by 720, is called the JVC kind of format. That's a kind of the lowest quality high definition. And then, of course, the 1920 by 1080 is the high definition. So if you want to do anything for high definition, I would most likely, unless you're using a JVC camera or something like that, you would use the HDV 1080, which is the high definition format. And then some of these other ones would be for super high definition. Well, not necessarily that one, but the film ones, okay, or give you film size quality for actually, film from, physical film sizes. So that's what's under film and video. And some of these other ones would Flash Catalyst is basically an application that comes with Flash. It's like a way of doing Flash with a lot easier, more of a icon-based Flash. And then there's some basic RGB and some basic CMYK, kind of the same print ones that we've been using already. But the one I want you to concentrate in today would be the film and video. And what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to take a picture from the internet and bring it into Illustrator and then design a title over top of it. And that's all I want you to do this week. So the key here is to try and use different sizes like we're doing here, as well as how to download things off the internet and add them in there. So for this one, I'm going to do a high definition HD 1080, the 1920 by 1080. One of the things you'll notice if you choose the high definition option or even the regular video option, you hit OK inside of Illustrator, it gives you a grid kind of pattern. The reason why is it's because it's going to make a transparent background so that whatever you type over top, you can then sort of seamlessly blend with a video or something like that in another program. So a lot of the things you would do inside of Illustrator for film and video is you would design something and then bring it into another application to animate it or something like that. In this case, though, I'm just going to go and one of the things you'll notice is that it gives you a grid pattern. Not necessarily a grid, but you have these windows, as you can see them. There's a kind of a black line, which is the edge of the film or video. Then you have two little green lines. The outside green one is what's called the Overscan, which says that this is kind of the edge of the TV screen, because whenever you're looking at TV or video, usually the screen is the image is larger than the screen. Okay, so some of the edges of your video is actually cut off whenever you're shooting. So that's sort of what the outside green line is. This is like the edge of the TV, but you usually put all your artwork to the black line, but it's just the last few pixels here actually cut off. So that's the outside green line is called Overscan, and the inside one is called Title Safe. The reason why they have an inside one is so don't put your title close to this edge, because it may get cut off or it may not be balanced if it's so close to the edge of the image. So that's sort of what you see when you start with a preset of film. In this case, I'm going to go and download one of my favorite movie images, and I'm going to bring it in here and then make my own little title over top of it. So how do I steal an image? Again, we're going to go to, of course, place where you can find most of your videos or movies would be on YouTube. So I went to YouTube and typed in one of my favorite movies, Once Upon a Time in the West, and I can scroll through and look for an image that I want to use. Now, if you're using a Mac, you can use the Apple Shift 3 to take a screen capture or take a screenshot, or if you're using a Mac also, you can use the Command Shift 4, and then it gives you a kind of like a crosshair cursor, and then you can draw a box over what you want to take a picture of, and it saves it as a PDF, or not a PDF, a PNG on your desktop, and then you can place that into Illustrator. But in this case, I'm using a Windows computer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find the image I want. I want the hero. There he is, the hero of the film here. We get a nice sort of shot of him. You can do full screen inside of inside of it's not working here. There we go. You can do full screen inside of YouTube here by clicking on that little box in the corner of the video. Find the image you want. Trying to find, there we go. That's the image I want. And then, of course, since I'm using a Windows computer, I can hit the print screen key on the keyboard, and it takes a picture of the screen. Hit escape to go back to close your video. Then if I go over to my Illustrator, I can then paste that image into Illustrator by using the Control V, and it'll paste that image. Now I know I got some of my screen recording thing on there and stuff like that, but when you do yours, you can actually do it hopefully properly without getting extra stuff on your screen like I did, because I'm using a screen recording software that I'm talking to you on right now, and that's why it's on the screen. Once I place my video image into Illustrator, I can then size it. I know it's not going to be the best quality because you're resizing a bitmap or screen capture, but you can size it to fit your window if you want. And today what I want you to really think about as we're adding images to our scene is that I want to think about how the text or a title would go over top of this. Again, in the handout it talks about proximity, talks about balance and things like that. In addition, when you're saving a movie or something like this, you want to be able to choose the appropriate font. So one of the things I really want you to do today is, if you're stealing a picture from a movie like I did, and you're going to make a title sample over top of the video image, you know, what would the proper font be for that type of movie or that era or something like that. So, you know, if you're doing a historical thing, you know, what kind of font would go well with that. So in this case, the rest of this week, as far as lesson, is really up to you as far as adding text to an image. I'm just going to type in, this is once upon time in the West, and I'm going to choose hopefully an appropriate font, kind of Wild West font, if I can find one. I guess we can go over here and see the actual examples here. Again, we can always download the appropriate font you want from the DA font website, if you remember, was a pretty good one. Let's see, what kind of font do we want? This California looks kind of cool. Californian. It's actually not a bad font. If I could make it bigger here. Oof, too big.
I think.
So in this case, that was a little bit too big. Let me go down to, like, say 150. There we go. So I'm looking for something like that. I don't need you to animate the text or anything like that, but one of the things I do want you to think about maybe is some of the options that we had reading on last week, which was the appearance window. In the appearance window, and how you can add things to it. You can add a new stroke, a new fill here, and we can give it maybe a texture. Oh, that doesn't look very good, does it? How about blue? There we go, blue. There's a texture. There's a gradient right there. So think about things like that. Think about adding some stroke to it. I know that's a horrible looking color here. Maybe I can give it a different gradient. Oof, look at that, horrible color. Horrible color. Horrible color. There we go. Nice kind of orange there. Kind of Western look there. So again, how do I bring images in from the internet, and how can I add some text? Look at some of the samples from the website. Once you get a nice balance in what you think would be a good title, then just save it as a JPEG. One of the things to consider when you're working with saving files and bringing things in from other areas into Illustrator, again, is the linking option. Now, since I copied and pasted, this really shouldn't have a linking problem because this is automatically embedded, I'm sure. it's probably automatic. Yeah, it's already embedded because you copied and pasted. But of course, if you placed it from a file on your desktop, it might not be embedded in an image. So I think there's some reading on there on the website or in the book about linking and embedding images. Basically, what it means is the image now became part of the Illustrator document. So if you save it as an Illustrator document, it'll save the text and picture together. So this is my movie sample. Now to place it on your blog, one of the things you could do is save it as a JPEG. So if I go under File, Save for Web and Device, and I zoom out, you'll notice it's only saving what was within the window of that film, right? I had a bunch of stuff on the outside, but on the inside here, it's only saving what is inside the work area or the artboard area when you go under File, Save for Web and Device. And if I go and save this, I can save it as a sample and put it onto my web page as a great movie title example. So again, this week all I want you to do is work a little bit more with type. We did a lot of type examples, maybe make some cool titles, look at some of the samples. You don't have to animate it or anything. All I want you to do is think about balancing, putting some text over top of an image, and think of movie ideas and things like that.